Hello, my YouTube subscribers and subscribers to be. I am your host, Josie Latimer, coming to you today with a story about Amber Guyger and her testimony. Well, in my past videos, one of them I was trying to give Amber Guyger the benefit of the doubt. However, after seeing many more stories regarding her, I just don't think so because it's just too many lies that was told, and the girl is just guilty. She's guilty for killing Botham John in his apartment because it was just too many lies told. She lied about pulling over in that conversation with that married police officer. She lied about the light being in the apartment. She lied about she didn't see the red mat. She didn't see the flower pot. She lied actually about not knowing that that was her apartment. And she was building the case when she kept saying, I thought it was my apartment. 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 How does that sound, you guys? It sounds as if she's trying to set herself up for the case so that it could possibly seem that she's crazy. Thought it was my apartment. I thought it was my apartment. I thought it was my apartment. I thought it was my apartment. I'm sorry, bud. I'm sorry, bud. She kept telling the man she's sorry, bud. What did that mean? What kind of word is that to say to somebody that's dying? That's a nothing word. When you could actually be doing CPR to save this man. And, oh, I did try. I used one hand. That's not trying. She lied then. I tried a little. The word little, little bitty. I tried a little, a little. The police officer in Houston, when he was shot down in the streets like a dog by the criminal, there was a lady in the surrounding area. She went and did CPR on him as long as she could to try to save his life until they got there. She was not even a police officer, and she was not trained. But she had that much common sense, and being a police officer, Amber Guyger was trained over 3,000 hours. She knew to do CPR, but she didn't want to put her mouth on that black man because she knew he was one of the people that was smoking weed in that apartment, which she lied again to the police about when they said, when the prosecutor said, what about you talking about weed to this other police officer lady? Well, he thought it was a man at first, and then she said it was a lady. He said, oh, yeah, well, the lady. What about? She said, well, I don't recall saying anything about anything. So when he pulled out the text messages, oh, well, I guess if you see it, that's like playing the prosecutor crazy. I guess if you see it, I guess I did say it, but I don't recall doing it. You told that lady and talked about weed. You know that you heard about the weed going on in those apartments, and you knew that it was his apartment that was doing the weed because his friend got on the stand and said they both had smoked weed together, and the front office had already been upset about smoking weed in that apartment, and you mentioned the same situation to your friend. So now my thing is I'm wondering if indeed the office mentioned that to her, because another thing I heard something about she possibly could have been on duty. Like, they have police officers when they get off duty and then they work in these apartment buildings. And she possibly could have been aware about that weed stuff in the apartments and went straight to that man to off him because she knew he was one of the people that was smoking weed in that apartment. Because she did have a chance to bag out that door and run away and go get help. She did. If she didn't want murder on her hands, she didn't have to have it on her hands. She could have went down the streets to the police department, which was down the streets from her, I understand, 5 or 10 minutes away. So she chose. And when she put her bag down at that door and opened that door, that big red mat was sitting there, and you're a police officer and you couldn't see that? A kid could have seen that. So that was another big joke. And another thing, when she said she was tired that night, that was one of her alibis. She was stupid for getting on the stand because all she did was discriminate herself, because The prosecutor split her apart. The thing of it is I guess she got on the case because she was trying to prove a point that she thought it was her apartment. 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 I'm gonna say it about 20 times. I think that's how many times they say she said it. I thought it was my apartment. 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 Now that's 20 times, and she probably said it even more. A dispatcher don't need to hear it but 1 or 2 times. They already recording a mess. You don't have to try to build a case and make yourself look crazy because that was overkill. That was an overkill to keep saying it that many times when you should have been saving this man's life doing CPR on him. And to bag it up a little bit, my thing is when she said she was tired, and then the prosecutor said, well, what were you going to do that evening? Oh, I was going to get dressed, and I was going to come home from work and get dressed, and then I was going to go to the gym and work out. And he said, the gym? He said, well, is the gym is in walking distance? Oh, no, the gym is downtown. And you're tired? And the gym is downtown? He said, well, you going to run over something or something? You so tired and you so, if you was that tired and you was going to go to the gym, you should have been trying to go to bed if you was that tired. Like you said, she said she was tired that night when that happened to Botham John. But yet, she discriminated herself by saying she was going to go to the gym and it wasn't in walking distance, it was a long ways downtown. You mean to tell me that time of night you're not tired and you gonna get in your car and go to the gym? That was another discrimination. So really, I probably wouldn't have got on that stand because she looked, and on one incident she almost cursed too, and I don't know if you guys caught that, like she was gonna say shit, and then she called herself shit when her attorney was asking her, how did you feel? I felt like she started saying shit, and then she said, man, it was just too much for me. I don't buy it. I'm sorry. I don't know about you guys. It has nothing to do with race. I just don't buy it. It has nothing to do with race with me. I just didn't like the fact that when she said, and it wasn't hate or anything like that, nobody didn't ask you on the stand about hate. Why would you bring that up? It wasn't hate. It wasn't about hate or anything like that. No, it probably wasn't about hate. Or it possibly was about hate, and it was about weed too. Possibly, allegedly, because weed was a main factor in that apartment building. You mentioned it to your co-worker, the lady, and the building people probably mentioned it to her, allegedly. Could have. When they do those investigations, they're going to find out some more stuff. So I'm going to be coming back with more commentary. So please click like, share, and subscribe. And I'll